A learning lab is a really popular model to use if you have access to a computer lab or a class set of computers. Maybe it's on a mobile cart that you can check out once a week or a couple times a week or maybe even every day. Regardless of the situation, a learning lab model just implies that students have time in a traditional math class where they're following a traditional curriculum with the teacher sort of lecturing or at the front of the room. And then there's also time where students are in a computer lab, or a time when students have access to those computers. And these little orange things are supposed to be computers. Your class may not be set up like this. It might look more like a traditional math class, but regardless, it's the breakdown and how time is used that we'll be talking about today. So in this model, there are several ways that the computer lab or the time on the computers can be really useful. The first and easiest way to have students use Khan Academy is to give students free time. And I'm going to write it in quotes here because it's not really free time to do whatever students want to be doing. It's free time to be engaged with the Khan Academy site. And what we've seen with teachers who have done this is students who are extremely motivated will take off when they all of a sudden have access to all of this content, and they just sort of run wild and make tremendous gains in their math skills and math knowledge. The second way to use this time with computers is to supplement what's happening in your traditional math class. So I'm going to write supplement here. And what this means is if you are teaching a unit on linear equations, for example, then when students are in the computer lab, they would be working on exercises and watching videos that are all related to linear equations. Now, the third way to use time with Khan Academy is to make sure that students' personal needs are being met. And what I mean by that is if a student has a lot of gaps in knowledge, or if a student is very advanced and is doing work that is beyond grade level, this is a time for those personal needs to get met. So again, this might be remedial. It might be advanced. And what we've seen in some classrooms is teachers are actually really good at splitting up time so that students are able to both do supplemental work that's related to the curriculum, and they're able to meet their personal needs. And the way that they do this, I'll just draw an arrow here, is they do this by setting goals. And when students set goals, one example of this might be to set 5 goals for every week, and 3 of those goals might be related to class, the actual material that's being covered in class. So these would be class goals. And then the other 2 goals every week might be more individual or person meeting their personal needs. So these would be personal goals. And this is just a way to make sure that students are able to both meet the needs of your curriculum, but also meet their own needs, whether that's filling in gaps or working on things that are more advanced. Finally, I just want to add that it can be really useful to use the data from the computer lab to inform your traditional math class. So you can tell which students might be helpful to spend more time with, or which students could use some peer tutoring, and how to pair students up using all of the data. There's a lot that you can do with the data to inform your traditional math class. And similarly, you can take what you know from your traditional math class and make sure that it gets incorporated into the computer lab. So if you notice that a couple students are struggling with negative numbers, for example, you can make sure that they go and fill in that gap or set that as a personal goal in the learning lab. Something else that you can do, and I would very much encourage this, is to not be afraid to have students not be on the computers when they're in the learning lab, and maybe do a seminar with you so that you can focus your attention on students who are really struggling with a particular concept, or maybe this is a group of students who are working on a project that dives deeper into the concept that you're teaching. Whatever the case may be, we encourage you to always think about how your classroom and the learning lab can be a place for interaction and exploratory learning.